When I was 10, my father died unexpectedly. Then the lawyer asked if I wanted to stay with my mother, or take the 200 million my father left behind. In my past life, I cried and begged for my mother. In the end, she took my father's death benefit, and immediately married the neighbor Wang. Oh no, I mean Uncle Zhao. I became the burden in their eyes. In the end, I worked myself to death on a construction site. I was only 28 when I died. Looking back at that pitiful, ridiculous life, I was utterly stupid from start to finish. Now the crossroads of fate appears again. The woman in front of me cries like pear blossoms in the rain. Dad, how could you leave? How are we, a widow and an orphan, supposed to go on? She wails heart-wrenchingly, her body limp like mud. If no one were there to hold her up, she would collapse to the ground at any moment. In my past life, I was fooled by this act of hers. I thought she was truly grief-stricken. I thought she couldn't live without me. So I rushed over and hugged her legs, crying and yelling that I had to be with her. And what happened? She took the compensation my father bought with his life. Within 3 months, she happily remarried. She married the man she always called Uncle Zhao, who had been taking care of us. My father's ashes weren't even cold yet. That man moved into our house. He slept in the new bed my father once slept in. And I became the extra, unwanted presence. I became the burden they didn't want around. Zhao Chong had a son 2 years older than me. He treated me like a thorn in his side. To please that stepson, Li Lan beat and scolded me without mercy. The money my father left behind became the capital for their family to eat, drink, and have fun. It became my stepbrother's ticket to impress girls and flaunt wealth. Meanwhile, I had to collect scraps just to afford tuition. I was kicked out to work before even finishing high school. They called it making a man independent early. I carried bricks on construction sites for 10 full years. Finally, I collapsed from overwork. I fell onto a pile of scorching steel bars, and I never woke up again. Now I'm back. Li Lan pulls my hand and says, "Don't be afraid, Xiao Ning. From now on, Mom will take good care of you." She hugged me, her tears and snot smearing all over my face. But deep in her eyes, something was hidden. A barely noticeable urgency and greed. Seeing this, I didn't cry or make a scene like in my past life. I just quietly watched her performance with cold eyes. Then my dad's old friend walked over. Also his lawyer, Uncle Zhou. Lawyer Zhou sighed and patted my shoulder. Then he took a document from his briefcase. Lawyer Zhou said, "Li Lan, Xiao Ning. This is the will Ning Gu made before he passed." Lawyer Zhou's voice was exceptionally heavy. Ning Gu considered all possibilities. He has assets totaling 200 million. They have already been notarized. Now there are 2 choices. First, Xiao Ning stays with you. This money will be kept as compensation and child support, managed by you on his behalf, until Xiao Ning becomes an adult. Upon hearing this, Li Lan's breathing instantly quickened. A frightening gleam lit up her eyes. She stared fixedly at the will. Second, if Xiao Ning chooses not to stay with you, the money will be transferred to a trust fund, managed by me on his behalf. Xiao Ning will have sole control over it, and you, Li Lan, will receive none of it. The air seemed to freeze instantly. Everyone's gaze focused on me, this 10-year-old child. Li Lan's body went stiff. She stared at Lawyer Zhou in disbelief, as if to say, "How could you propose such a choice?" Then, she immediately put on a heartbroken expression, and held me tightly in her arms. Li Lan wailed, "Lawyer Zhou, how can you say such a thing? How could I ever abandon my son? Xiao Ning is my whole life." She wailed loudly while pinching my arm. Pinching my arm, she viciously threatened in my ear. "Ning Yi," she hissed. "Say one wrong word, and I'll beat you to death. You're my son. Your money is my money." In my past life, those words made me tremble with fear. I was also moved when she said, "Mom can't live without you." But now, I only feel a wave of nausea and disgust. I can feel her hand trembling as she pinches me. Not from grief, but from excitement and nervousness. 200 million. She had never seen so much money in her life. She was already fantasizing about the days after getting the money, dreaming of a happy life eloping with Zhao Chong. Slowly, bit by bit, I began to break free from her suffocating embrace. After breaking free, I lifted my head, meeting the stunned gaze of Lawyer Zhou. I spoke clearly, word by word. "Uncle Zhou, I choose the second option. I choose the 200 million. The entire funeral hall fell into dead silence, so quiet you could hear a pin drop. A needle falling to the ground would have been audible. Everyone froze as if a pause button had been pressed. They stared at me in shock, mouths agape. The sorrowful expression on Lilan's face instantly froze. Then it cracked, inch by inch, finally turning into shock and disbelief. Lilan shrieked. Ning-yi, what did you say? Her voice was so piercing it felt like it would tear through eardrums. Calmly, I repeated myself. My voice was soft, but it struck like nails. I said I don't want you. I want the money. Lilan screamed. Are you crazy? You unfilial son. I'm your own mother. Lilan completely lost control. She lunged at me like a hysterical woman, raising her hand to slap my face. But her wrist was caught by a large hand. The one who caught her was Lawyer Zhou. Lawyer Zhou said, his face iron gray. Lawyer Zhou said with a grim face, Lilan, please calm down. This is in front of Brother Ning's memorial. And this is Xiaoyi's own choice. What does a little kid like her know? You must have taken her away. Lawyer Zhou disgustedly shook off her hand and said, let me say it again. This is Brother Ning's will, it has legal effect. Since Xiaoyi has made her choice, I will immediately initiate the relevant procedures. From now on, you are no longer her legal guardian. Lilan was completely stunned. She looked at me, her eyes full of malice and unwillingness, as if looking at a mortal enemy. She probably couldn't figure out why her usually cowardly and obedient son would suddenly become so strange and cold. I couldn't be bothered with her anymore. I walked over to Lawyer Zhou, tugged at the hem of her clothes and asked, Uncle Zhou, did my dad already know? Lawyer Zhou's body jolted. She crouched down and looked seriously into my eyes. After a long while, she nodded painfully and said, your father was a smart man. He loved you so much. Those words made my eyes instantly red. Yes, my dad was such a smart man. How could he not see through Lilan's fickleness? He only endured it silently, to give me a complete family, until he was diagnosed with terminal illness and had little time left. Only then did he pave this escape route for me. In my past life I was so foolish. I personally destroyed my father's last love. In this life I won't make the same mistake. I choose the 200 million. Lilan was eventually dragged away by the relatives. The venomous look in her eyes as she left. I engraved it in my heart and remembered it for life. But I couldn't care less. From the second I made my choice, the mother-son bond between us was severed. Only hatred remained. Lawyer Zhou became my guardian. He is an upright and reliable person. After my dad's funeral was over, Lawyer Zhou took me to live at his place. He showed me a long investment list. These are all projects my dad and I researched before he passed away. But I flipped straight to the last page. Uncle Zhou, sell all of these earlier ones. Lawyer Zhou was taken aback and said, Lawyer Zhou's finger tapped on the list, tapping on a few inconspicuous names. Put all the money into these companies. Lawyer Zhou said without understanding. What about the rest? What kind of companies are these? Never heard of them. Xiaoyi, investing is no joke. Uncle Zhou, do you trust my dad? He was stunned for a moment, then, of course I do. He immediately nodded and said, then trust me this once too. My dad told me this in a dream. I could only use that lame excuse. But Lawyer Zhou looked into my eyes. Those eyes were so calm they didn't seem like a 10-year-old's. Somehow he nodded without thinking. What he didn't know was, the few names I pointed out would shake the entire world this year. They would become the most massive business giants. And I would be their most mysterious shareholder behind the scenes. After making all these arrangements, I completely relaxed. I set a brand new life goal for myself. Lie flat. Yes, just lie flat. In my past life, I worked myself to death. In this life, I want to live like uncle and auntie. I had Lawyer Zhou find me the best private school. Not to study hard, just for the good environment. And the cafeteria food is delicious. I started working out, not for anything else, just so I can have 8-pack abs and a V-line later. Clothes will look good on me. I began studying China's 8 major cuisines. I learned to brew my own alcohol. Later, I handed it off to Lawyer Zhou. He helped me assemble a professional team. The leader was a man named Old Wu, a Wall Street elite. I poached with triple his salary. I had only one requirement for him. Don't bother me. Handle your own affairs. If you can't handle it, let it go bankrupt. The look Old Wu gave me back then, like he was looking at a prodigal son of a wealthy family, a foolish landlord. but he still faithfully carried out my orders. And so my life became, boss. Cheer company's stock price has tripled again. We made 5 billion. Got it. Don't disturb me while I'm researching. Buddha jumps over the wall. Boss. Ali company is about to go public. The value of our original shares is expected to exceed 100 billion. Got it. Help me taste this new batch of rice wine I brewed. Boss. That piece of land you casually bought last time. The government plans to turn it into the new district's central business district. Its value has skyrocketed 100-fold. Old Wu gradually got used to my laid-back state. He even started proactively filtering out those unimportant business deals worth a few billion. And I ventured further and further down the path of coasting. The wealth under my name grew like a snowball, wildly multiplying. But numbers had become numb to me. I only cared about how to make myself more comfortable. I became a mysterious legend among the top billionaire circles. No one knew who I was. They only knew there was a mysterious Mr. Ning, whose wealth rivaled a nation, yet was rarely seen, like a dragon that shows its head but not its tail. Until I turned 18, when a woman appeared, shattering my peaceful coasting life. Xiao Wanqin, my former fiancé. The engagement between Xiao Wanqin and me was a child betrothal arranged by my grandfather. After my father passed away, our family fell into decline, and no one brought up this marriage anymore. But no one expected that the inheritance my father left behind would, 10 years later, ferment into a massive business empire. Though I deliberately kept a low profile, the resurgence of the Ning family still caught the Xiao family's attention. So on my 18th birthday, old Master Xiao brought his precious granddaughter. The wife came to the door, under the pretense of fulfilling the marriage contract from years ago. The first time I saw Xiao Wanqin was in the living room at Lawyer Zhou's house. She was wearing a tasteful white skirt suit. Her long hair was pinned up meticulously at the back of her head. Her face was made up with delicate, light makeup. Beautiful, yes, but like an iceberg, exuding a chill that warned others to keep their distance. She was the epitome of a strong career woman, raised to be the heir of her family. Rational, powerful, and calm. They said that at 20, she had already earned a double doctorate. At 22, she took over the family business. Ruthless in her methods, she made even the wiliest old foxes in business wary of her. Her world consisted only of career, interests, and data. She regarded emotions as the most useless weakness. Please have a seat. She sat down across from me, crossing her legs. Her gaze, like a scanner, swept over me from head to toe, with undisguised scrutiny and contempt. At that moment, I had just come back from the gym. I was wearing a loose tracksuit, my hair still damp with sweat. I responded lazily, leaning back on the sofa, casually picking up an apple, and taking a bite. My attitude clearly displeased her. She furrowed her brows slightly. I heard you stopped studying after graduating from high school. Studying is too tiring. So what are you doing now? Working out, cooking, brewing wine, researching the best way to lie down comfortably. I answered honestly. A corner of young Wanqin's mouth curved into a mocking smile. So you're just a good-for-nothing playboy. You can see it that way. I shrugged nonchalantly. She let out a cold laugh. The disdain in his eyes deepened. Ningy, let's be straightforward with each other. This marriage arrangement was a joke from Grandpa. It shouldn't be taken seriously. The man who marries me, Xiao Wanqin, must be someone who can stand shoulder to shoulder with me as a strong person, not a good-for-nothing who only knows how to eat, drink, and have fun. So then, I looked at her with interest. So I hope you will take the initiative to go and talk to my grandpa and call off this engagement, he said in a commanding tone. As compensation, I can give you a sum of money, or in our company, arrange a cushy job for you. I almost spat out the apple in my mouth. Give me money and arrange a job for me? Does she know that the Xiao group she's so proud of, in my eyes, isn't even a fraction of my assets? I watched her lofty and condescending demeanor, and suddenly found it amusing. In my past life, I didn't even have the right to meet her face to face. In this life, she sits right in front of me, speaking in a charitable tone, offering me compensation. I wiped my mouth, and said with a smile, "Fine." Xiao Wanqing was stunned for a moment, as if she hadn't expected me to agree so readily. "What compensation do you want?" She resumed, that icy expression. "I don't want money. nor a position. I stood up and walked over to her, leaned down and whispered in her ear. She instinctively tried to pull back, but her body froze. I could smell her scent, that strong smell of perfume. I lowered my voice, speaking in a volume only the two of us could hear. I want you to go tell your grandfather yourself that you're not good enough for my Ningning. Xiao Wanqing's pupils suddenly contracted. She probably, in her entire life, had never heard such arrogant words. She shoved me away and stood up abruptly. Her pretty face flushed red with anger. Ningning, don't be ungrateful. Ungrateful. Face is earned by yourself, not given by others. I sat back down on the sofa and crossed my legs. Miss Xiao, you were the one who looked down on me first. Isn't that right? She looked down at me from above. People like you. Besides being good at being born into a rich family, what else can you do? Idle all day long, eating and waiting to die. What's the difference between you and a parasite? The difference is, I'm happy doing it. I spread my hands. I call the shots in my life, unlike some people who live like a precision machine, even calculating gains and losses for joy and anger. My words clearly hit her sore spot. Her face turned a few shades paler. She clenched her fists. Different paths, no common goals. I'll go annul the engagement myself. From now on, we owe each other nothing. After saying that, she turned and walked away without looking back. That proud figure was like a defeated, yet unbowed white swan. Lawyer Zhou walked out of the study with a worried look. Xiaoi, aren't you being too impulsive like this? The Xiao family has considerable influence in the capital. Uncle Zhou, don't worry. It was her who wanted to call off the engagement. It's not like I drove her away. Besides, a person who can't even decide their own marriage can't amount to much. I watched the direction Xiao Wanqing had disappeared. There wasn't a ripple in my eyes. In my past life, she was the moon hanging high in the sky. I didn't even have the right to look up to her. In this life, in my eyes, she's just a pitiful person trapped by her family. I'm looking forward to what kind of devastated expression she'll have. That will definitely be interesting. The engagement storm soon subsided. Xiao Wanqing kept her word. Within a few days, the Xiao family formally announced the dissolution of the engagement. I was happy for the peace and quiet. I continued my laid-back life. Old Wu's phone still rang on time every day, reporting how many more small goals I had made. My personal wealth had swollen to a number I couldn't be bothered to calculate. But I still wore a tracksuit costing a few dozen bucks every day, and drove an ordinary commuter car, shuttling between the gym and the vegetable market. Until one day, I met an angel inside a dessert shop that was about to go out of business. It was a shop tucked deep in the alleyways of the old town. The shop was very small, decorated in an antique style. It sold some nearly lost traditional Chinese desserts. I was drawn by the hand-carved wooden sign at the door. Today's special, osmanthus flour steamed glutinous rice flour cake. This dessert was something my dad loved to make for me when I was a kid. I pushed the door open. The wind chime let out a crisp ring. A girl in a light cyan cheongsam walked out from the back. Her long hair reached her waist. She wore no makeup. Her face bore a hint of startled confusion. The moment I saw her, my heart skipped a beat. It was a very strange feeling. She wasn't as stunningly beautiful as Xiao Wanqing, but she was like a clear spring, pure and clean. It gave people a sense of peace just by looking at it. Do you still have the osmanthus sugar-steamed chestnut cake? I asked, opening my mouth. My voice sounded a bit hoarse. The girl was stunned for a moment. Then she revealed a gentle smile, like a spring breeze brushing across a lake. Rippling rings of waves. Yes, we do. Please have a seat. I'll go get it for you right away. Her voice was also very pleasant, soft and sweet. I found a seat by the window and sat down. Soon, she came over carrying a plate of delicate pastries, walked over, and placed them in front of me. The chestnut cakes were shaped like small plum blossoms, topped with crystal-clear osmanthus sugar, exuding a tempting sweet fragrance. I picked up a piece and put it in my mouth. This is the taste. Exactly the same as my dad used to make. A warm current surged from the bottom of my heart. My eyes actually became a little moist. How is it? Is it good? The girl sat down across from me, resting her chin on her hands, looking at me with eager anticipation. I exclaimed sincerely, tastes exactly like my dad's. Really? Her eyes lit up. The recipe for this dessert was passed down from my grandmother. She said very few people still make it nowadays. Your grandmother must have been an amazing person. She puffed out her little chest proudly. Yeah. My name is Shin Yu-chu. This shop is mine. What about you? My name is Ning Yi. We chatted like old friends. Talked on. That's when I learned she came from a family with a long culinary tradition. Her ancestors were imperial chefs. She had grown up immersed in these traditional crafts. She didn't like the 9-to-5 grind of big companies. So she opened this little shop herself, just wanting to pass on these beautiful flavors. Her values turned out to be strikingly similar to mine. We both love a slow-paced life, and share an almost stubborn passion for traditional culture. That afternoon, I sat in that tiny dessert shop, and talked with her for a very long time. Sunlight streamed through the curtain, spilling over her, giving her a golden halo. I watched her sparkling eyes as she spoke, and the adorable smile that slipped out unintentionally. Somewhere in my heart, it felt like something had been filled. I suddenly felt that my heart, which had been hardened by rebirth. I went there every day without fail. Sometimes to eat a new dessert she had created. Sometimes to drink a cup of tea she had brewed herself. More often than not, I just sat there quietly watching her busy herself. She was very busy, only her in the shop, preparing ingredients, making the goods, serving customers, and cleaning up. She did everything herself, but she never complained. A contented smile was always on her face. I began to learn to help her. At first, I helped wash dishes. Then I helped pick vegetables. Later, she even allowed me into her back kitchen to watch her make desserts. Her kitchen wasn't big, but it was kept neat and orderly. All the utensils were arranged neatly. She was very focused when she worked, like a devout artist. Watching her slender hands transform ordinary ingredients into exquisite pieces of art was a pleasure. Once I was helping her carry a heavy bag of flour, because I had just finished working out. I was only wearing a tight workout tank top. Shin Yu-chu stood behind me, watching my muscles tense from the effort. Her cheeks flushed. Ning-yi, you have a great body. I put down the bag, turned around and deliberately puffed out my chest. Want to feel it? I thought she would shyly run away, but instead, she actually reached out her hand. Her fingertips were slightly cool, with a faint sweet scent of glutinous rice. They gently poked into the grooves of my abs. Firm. She looked like she had discovered a new world. Her eyes went wide and round. My body tensed up instantly. A wave of heat rushed from my abdomen straight to my head. I had lived 2 lifetimes, and this was the first time I had been teased like this by a girl. Seeing her innocent and curious expression, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I grabbed her restless little hand. Her hand was very soft, as if it had no bones. I lowered my voice and leaned close to her ear. Her face flushed red instantly, like a ripe apple. She quickly withdrew her hand, turned around and ran out of the back kitchen. Watching her fleeing figure, I couldn't help but laugh. This girl was really adorable. In the course of our daily interactions, our relationship gradually warmed up. We had endless common topics, from food to winemaking, from kunku opera to the guqin. I found that she was like a treasure, always able to bring me new surprises. She could play the guzheng, could paint ink wash paintings, and could even make her own rouge. She was like a maidservant who had traveled through time from ancient times, exuding classical charm all over. I started looking forward to seeing her every day, to seeing her smile, to bantering with her, to those little unconscious movements she made. I even began to think, if in the days to come, I had her by my side every day, that wouldn't be so bad. I gave her dessert shop a special name, called My Jade Kitchen, and she gave me a nickname, called the Lying Down Landlord. She said I do nothing all day, just come here to collect rent, and take all the best desserts that she makes. I know that between us, there's just one thin layer of paper, and what broke through that layer was an accident. That day, a rich second-generation guy in a sports car came to the shop and fell for Shin Yu-chu at first sight. He was slick and oily with flippant words. Right away he tried to buy out the whole shop and have Shin Yu-chu accompany him. Shin Yu-chu naturally refused. The rich guy flew into a rage out of humiliation and started causing trouble in the shop, smashing quite a few things. I happened to be in the back kitchen at the time, working on a new recipe, heard the commotion outside, and rushed out immediately, saw the shop in shambles. and Shin Yochu's little face, scared pale white. A surge of inexplicable anger rushed up inside me. In both my lives, I've never been this furious. I stood in front of Shin Yochu, stared coldly at that rich guy. Get out. Who the hell are you? Dare to meddle in my business. The rich guy arrogantly pointed at my nose. I said nothing, just took out my phone and dialed Old Woo's number. Old Woo, check a license plate for me. Within 5 minutes, make him and his family's company disappear from the capital. The rich guy froze for a moment, then burst into loud laughter. He scared me to death. You think you're in a movie? He'll make my family disappear in 5 minutes. Do you know who my dad is? I looked at him calmly, like I was looking at a dead man. Within less than 3 minutes, the rich second generation's phone rang. He answered the call. The smile on his face instantly froze. What did you say? The company's accounts have been frozen. All collaborations have been cancelled. How is that possible? Who did we offend? His voice trembled with fear. Finally, he fell to his knees with a thud. The phone slipped from his hand. He lifted his head, looking at me as if I were a monster, his lips quivering. He couldn't utter a single word. Can you get lost now? I said calmly. He scrambled out. He didn't even bother with his flashy sports car. The shop fell silent again. Shin Yochu looked at me. Her beautiful eyes were filled with shock and a hint of admiration. You. I turned around and looked at him. Tenderly, I wiped away the tear stains on his face. Don't be afraid. I'm here. Having said that, I didn't wait for his reaction. I lowered my head and kissed his slightly cool lips. Shin Yochu's lips were as soft as I had imagined, with the sweetness of osmanthus candy. He first stiffened, like a frightened fawn, then slowly relaxed, clumsily responding. The kiss was very light and shallow, yet it struck my heart like an electric current. After a long while, I reluctantly let him go. He lowered his head, his face so red it could drip blood. Not daring to look at me, Shin Yochu, I cupped his face, making him look into my eyes, said seriously, "Will you be my girlfriend?" He bit his lip, his long eyelashes fluttering like butterfly wings. After a long while, he finally, in a voice as soft as a mosquito's hum, quietly murmured yes. I smiled. Like an idiot, I pulled him tightly into my arms, feeling like I owned the whole world. Having lived 2 lives, for the first time, I understood what it meant to feel my heart race, what happiness was. He mumbled in my arms. You were so scary just now. Did I scare you? You can make a company go bankrupt with just 1 phone call. Ming-Yi, who exactly are you? I looked at his clear, innocent eyes, and knew I couldn't hide it from him anymore. I told you, I'm just a laid-back landowner. I flicked his nose. I just have a lot of land. I told him my story, selectively. Of course, I didn't mention the secret of being reborn. I only said that my father left me a huge inheritance. I used that money to make some investments, and earned a bit of money. Shin Yochu blinked. A bit of money? Money that can make a company go bankrupt in 5 minutes. How much is a bit? I thought for a moment, and said in a way he could understand. It's probably your dessert shop. I could probably buy tens of thousands of your dessert shops. Shin Yochu gasped. He counted on his fingers for a while, then looked at me in shock. You're a 100 billionaire. I nodded. He fell silent. My heart was a little uneasy. I was afraid that the huge gap in wealth between us would make him back away. I didn't expect him to be silent for so long. Suddenly he lifted his head and looked at me with a serious expression. Ning-Yi, listen carefully. From now on, your money is my money. My money is still my money. I was stunned for a moment, then burst into loud laughter. I picked him up and spun him around several times. Okay, whatever you say. My Yushinfang ancestral hall. He was dizzy from my spinning, could only rub my neck, letting out a silvery laugh. I knew I hadn't chosen the wrong person. What I love is Shin Yochu himself, not the halo of the Fu family on him. After being with Shin Yochu, my laid-back life became colorful and vibrant. We researched new desserts together, brewed new wines together. He would drag me to the morning market to haggle over a single cent, arguing with the vendor until red in the face. I would also take him to eat at Michelin 3-star restaurants, letting him taste cuisines from around the world. He likes to touch my abs, says they feel great, like a washboard. I like to kiss his Adam's apple, watching his cheeks flush from the shiver. We were like all couples in love. Sweet nights. Lao Wu commented that he was about to die from the dog food every day. Boss, this is the acquisition case of Huangyu Group. Needs your signature. Put it there. I'll make a rock sugar pear for you chew first. Boss, this is the invitation to the European Royal Banquet. When Lao Wu mentioned President Xiao, he glanced at me cautiously. My hand paused for a moment. The name Xiao Wanqing, I haven't heard in a long time. I asked indifferently, what does he want from me? Old Wu explained. The Xiao Group has recently run into cash flow problems. They urgently need a large investment. They found out that Yifan Shunfeng is doing well, and want to seek cooperation. Yifan Shunfeng is the investment company I had Old Wu set up, and also a tiny corner of my vast business empire. But even this tiny corner, to the Xiao Group, is a behemoth they have to look up to. How the tables have turned. Back then, that aloof, iceberg CEO who said I wasn't worthy of him, now has to come begging me for investment. A playful smile curled at the corner of my mouth. I told him, if he wants to talk, he can come to my Imperial Kitchen in person. Imperial Kitchen is Yu Chu's dessert shop. Old Wu looked bewildered. Tell him to bring his proposal, so I can see his sincerity. I can't wait to see. When Xiao Wanqing sees me together with Shen Yuchu, and sees that the trash he once looked down on the most, has now become someone he must look up to. What a brilliant expression that will be. I'm really looking forward to it. When little Wanqing arrived, I was in the back kitchen making Shen Yuchu his favorite crab roe soup dumplings. I was wearing a white chef's coat, with an apron tied around me, and flour still on my hands. Shen Yuchu was like a little cat, hugging me from behind around my waist, his chin resting on my shoulder, sneaking bites of the crab roe I had just steamed, while giving me instructions. The pleats here aren't pretty. Come out. Oh dear. They're only showing, you idiot. This one barely passes. Your master, approve. I let him fool around. From time to time, I turn my head, kiss him on the cheek. The kitchen was filled with the aroma of food, and the sweet atmosphere between us. It was at that moment that Xiao Wanqing pushed the door open and walked in. She was wearing a black professional suit today. Her hair was still combed meticulously. Her face bore exhaustion and anxiety, but she still tried her best to maintain her icy CEO facade. When she saw the scene before her, she was completely frozen in shock. She probably never dreamed in her wildest imagination that the legendary, mysterious, and all-powerful boss behind Smooth Sailing would actually be the very person she had once looked down upon the most, that useless waste. Moreover, what she never expected was that this waste was now wearing an apron, in the back kitchen of a small dessert shop, cooking soup for a girl with his own hands, and that girl was hugging him intimately, in a posture of staking her claim. Xiao Wanqing's face turned pale in an instant. In her usually calm and rational eyes were filled with shock and confusion, and a hint of discomposure she herself hadn't noticed. President Xiao, you're here? I seemed to only just notice her, wiped my hands, untied the apron, gave a lukewarm greeting. Shen Yuchu, also from behind me, poked out her little head, gazing curiously at Xiao Wanqing, then whispered to me, Ningyi, who is she? She looks really fierce. A beggar. I smiled, pinched her nose. Shen Yuchu couldn't help but laugh. Xiao Wanqing's face instantly turned from white to green, then from green to red. A spectacular display. She clenched her fists. My nails dug deep into my palm. She squeezed out a few words through gritted teeth. Ningyi, don't go too far. Too far? I raised an eyebrow. President Xiao, if I remember correctly, you were the one who said we had nothing to do with each other. Now you come knocking on my door yourself. If you're not here to beg, then what are you here for? I pulled Shen Yuchu over to a table outside and sat down. I placed a steaming basket of soup dumplings in front of her. Try them fresh out of the steamer. Only then did I slowly turn my gaze to Xiao Wanqing. I made a gesture inviting her to sit. President Xiao, have a seat. Whatever it is, just say it. My attitude was casual and dismissive, like I was brushing off someone insignificant. This was nothing like the business negotiation she had imagined. No tension, no verbal sparring, only domination. Naked, all-round domination. Xiao Wanqing took a deep breath, forcing herself to calm down. She pulled out a chair and sat down across from me. She took a thick folder from her bag and slid it in front of me. Mr. Ning, this is the Xiao Corporation's development plan for the next 5 years, along with our current financing proposal. I hope. Stop. I raised my hand to cut her off. President Xiao, I think you've misunderstood something. What? Right now, you're the one begging me, not the other way around. I leaned back in my chair and said slowly, deliberately, I'm not interested in your plan. I only want to ask you one question. I pointed at Shen Yuchu beside me, then pointed at myself. Do you think she and I make a good match? Xiao Wanqing's body went rigid. She stared at me, then at the person next to me, taking small bites of the soup dumplings. Shen Yuchu, with a blissful expression on her face. Her lips moved slightly, but not a single word came out. A match? This question was like a sharp knife, stabbing viciously into her proud heart. The man before her was handsome and wealthy, with immense power and influence. Yet he was willing, for an ordinary girl, to cook and prepare soup with his own hands. The adoration in his eyes was a tenderness she had never seen before. And that girl, though simply dressed, had a pure smile, clear eyes, radiating a kind of happiness wrapped in being loved. They sat together, like a serene picture of a peaceful life, and herself, wearing an expensive suit, clutching a thick proposal, sat here like a clown, begging for a shred of this man's pity. Once upon a time, she had stood before her, using a condescending tone, to tell her to get out of her world, and now the tables had turned. Overwhelming irony and regret, like a tidal wave, engulfed her, her pride, her rationality at this moment, shattered into pieces. She struggled to speak, her voice hoarse, not sounding like her own. You make a good match. Is that so? Xiao Wanqing's face, drained of its last trace of color. She knew I was humiliating her, using the very words she once said, returning them to her unchanged. Mingy, I admit, back then I was blind. She closed her eyes, as if using all her strength. I apologize to you, but business is business, and personal is personal. This cooperation with the Su Group is really important. I beg you. Beg me? I interrupted her. President Xiao, in what capacity are you begging me? As my ex-fiancé, or a defeated opponent? Shin Yuchu listened, completely confused. But she wisely didn't interrupt, only quietly added to my bowl a small steamed bun. Then, with her clear eyes, she silently supported me. This small gesture, yet caused Xiao Wanqing's defenses to completely collapse. She saw the kind of wordless understanding between us, the intimacy that was in our blood, something she would never obtain. She always thought she pursued the pinnacle of her career, supreme power, but only today did she realize that when she stood high above the masses, how empty and cold her heart was. She won the whole world, but lost the only person. Ningyi. She spoke again, her voice now choked with tears. Consider this my begging you. Okay, she cried. The one who was always aloof, cold as ice. Xiao Wanqing actually cried. Tears rolled down her delicate cheeks, dripping onto her proud proposal, spreading into a patch of water stain. I watched her quietly. No hint of pleasure in my heart, only indifference. In my previous life, I might have, because of, moved by her tears, I softened, but not anymore. I picked up that proposal. Without even looking at it, I tossed it directly into the trash can beside me. President Xiao, I stood up and looked down at her. Let me tell you one more thing. I have no interest in acquiring a company on the verge of bankruptcy, especially when the owner of that company is you. With that, I stopped looking at her, took Shin Yochu's hand, and turned to walk into the kitchen. Behind me came the sound of Xiao Wanqing's uncontrollable, heartbroken sobs. I knew that from today onward, this woman's pride had been crushed by my own hands, and this was only the beginning. Xiao Wanqing left, utterly devastated. I didn't pay any more attention to what happened to her, because an even more disgusting person showed up at my door. Li Lan, my biological mother. She had somehow found out about Shin Yochu's dessert shop and blocked the entrance directly. 10 years had passed. She had aged a lot and looked much more worn out. the woman who once retained her charm, now had wrinkles creeping around her eyes, streaks of silver in her hair. She wore cheap market stall clothes, her face full of Philistine cunning and calculation. One look and you could tell that she and Zhao Chong hadn't been doing well all these years. In the previous life, they squandered my father's money recklessly. Zhao Chong also got addicted to gambling. Soon, they blew through everything. In this life, without my father's money, they were probably struggling even more. As soon as she saw me, she lunged forward. It was her usual crying and wailing act. Say what you have to say, I said coldly. If not, just cry. Shall we? How can you talk to your mother like that? Mom knows you're still mad at her. But back then, Mom had her reasons. Your Uncle Zhao and I have been through so much these years. He got scammed in business and ended up deep in debt. Now we can't even afford to eat. Shall we? You've made something of yourself now. You can't just ignore your mother. She wiped her tears and started playing the victim. She was about to kneel down. I frowned. Shin Yuchu walked out of the shop. Seeing this, she looked a bit lost. Ningyi. One last thing. An irrelevant person. I shielded Shin Yuchu behind me, not wanting her to be tainted by such a messy scene. Lilan shrieked, pointing at Shin Yuchu. How am I irrelevant? I'm her mother. Her real mother. And who are you? A vixen, trying to seduce my son. After our family's money, aren't you? Shin Yuchu's face turned pale. My expression darkened completely. I said slowly, word by word, my voice cold as ice. I'll say it again. Get lost. I'm not leaving. Ningyi, you have to give me money today. 1 million. No, 10 million. Or I'll stay here and never leave. And I'll sue you for abandoning your own mother. Lilan started throwing a tantrum. She thought I was still the same pushover she could manipulate. She thought I cared about my reputation. Will care about what others think. He was wrong. I looked at his ugly face and suddenly smiled. Fine, I said. You want to sue me? I'll give you that chance. I took out my phone and dialed Old Wu's number again. Old Wu, find me the best law firm in the capital. Also contact the biggest media outlets. I'm holding a press conference. The theme will be me and my biological mother, settling the accounts of all these years. Lilan froze. She never expected that I wouldn't be threatened by her. Instead, I was going to blow things up. You wouldn't dare. She blustered without conviction. Watch me. I put away my phone and sneered. Lilan, you probably forgot 10 years ago how I chose. 10 years ago, I could give up everything for money. 10 years later, I can still ruin your reputation. Just for some peace. Don't you love to put on a show? I'll give you a bigger stage to act. Your fill. My eyes looked at her like she was a dead thing. Lilan felt a chill run through her under my gaze. She finally realized the son standing before her was no longer someone she could control. He's a devil. Lilan finally couldn't bear the immense pressure and slunk away in shame. The world was finally quiet. Ningyi. Shin Yuchu tugged my hand worriedly. Is she really your mother? She used to be. I turned my hand and held his, brought it to my lips and kissed it. Not anymore. From now on, you're the only family I have. Shin Yuchu looked at me. Tears of sympathy welled up in his eyes. He didn't ask any more questions. Stood on tiptoe and gave me a warm hug. Don't be afraid. I'll be here for you from now on. I held him, feeling the darkness left behind by my past life, gradually being dispelled by his sunshine. Yeah, I still have him. That's enough. I thought after Lilan was scared away by me, she would stop there. But I underestimated her shamelessness. A few days later, the internet suddenly flooded with a lot of dirt about me. Mysterious billionaire Ningyi, revealed to be a modern-day Chinshimi, refused to marry a wealthy heiress, abandoned his destitute mother. Today's secret, the rags to riches story of 100 billionaire, actually built on sucking his own mother dry. Biological mother tearfully accuses. My son was lured away by a vixen. One tear-jerking essay after another portrayed me as an ungrateful, money-grubbing, ingrate bewitched by beauty, while Lilan became a long-suffering, poor mother abandoned by her son. Shin Yuchu naturally became that vixen who destroyed our mother-son bond. There were also a few candid shots of me and Shin Yuchu eating at a street-side diner. The public opinion exploded. Countless netizens who didn't know the truth were incited by these sob stories and started unleashing a frenzied online attack on me. My name, for the first time, landed on trending topics this way. Some even went to the extreme. They doxed Shin Yuchu's dessert shop, splashed paint and threw trash at the shop door. Ningy, I'm not a seductress. I know you're not. Don't be afraid. I'll handle everything. The murderous intent in my eyes was stronger than ever. Lilan, Zhaochong, you really pissed me off. I originally just wanted to leave you to your own devices. But you had to go after the people I care about most. Then don't blame me for being ruthless. I had Old Wu investigate. The results came out quickly. Behind all of this, it was indeed Lilan and Zhaochong pulling the strings. They hired a third-rate marketing company, bought fake followers with money, directed and acted out this whole drama themselves. But what surprised me even more was that behind this matter there was also the shadow of Xiao Wanqing. Although she didn't directly participate, the PR company under her banner played a role in fueling this public opinion war. Fine. Just fine indeed. One is my shameless biological mother. The other is my unwilling ex-fiancé. Since you like teaming up, then I'll send you both to hell together. I didn't rush to clear things up, nor did I take down the trending topics. I let the public opinion continue to ferment. I want them to climb higher, so they fall harder. 3 days later, just when the whole internet's condemnation of me reached its peak, I held that press conference. I had prepared for Lilan. The venue was in the capital, at the top 7-star hotel, the largest banquet hall. I invited over 100 mainstream media outlets nationwide. The scale was unprecedented. Lilan was also invited to the scene. She probably thought I was going to cave in, give her money to settle things. With a smug smile on his face, Xiao Wanqing also came. She sat in an inconspicuous corner, wanting to see how I would handle things. I wore a well-fitted handmade suit. Holding Shin Yuchu's hand, I stepped onto the stage. Shin Yuchu was a bit nervous. Her palms were sweaty. I gave her a reassuring smile. The flashbulbs went crazy. Cleared my throat. Facing the countless microphones and cameras before me, I spoke my first sentence. Hello everyone, I am Ningyi. I invited you all here today to tell you a story about choices. I told the story from when I was 10 years old, exactly as it happened, from my father's will, to Li Lan's threats, and finally to my decision. I spoke very calmly, without a trace of emotion, as if recounting something unrelated to me. But the entire venue fell into dead silence. All the journalists were shocked. They probably never expected the truth to be such a stunning twist. Li Lan's face turned pale instantly. She tried to rush up and argue, but was firmly held down by the bodyguards I had arranged. Of course, words alone are not proof. I snapped my fingers. The large screen behind me lit up and began playing a recording. It was from 10 years ago at the funeral. Li Lan's threat whispered in my ear. If you dare say anything wrong, I'll beat you to death. You're my son. Your money is my money. The voice was crystal clear. I had Lawyer Zhou retrieve it from the recording device he carried back then. My father was suspicious in life, and Lawyer Zhou kept it just in case. Lawyer Zhou just in case. I only recorded the entire conversation back then. Never thought it would come in handy today. The moment the recording was played, the whole venue erupted in shock. The reporter's camera flashes all turned to Lilan, whose face was ashen. Lilan screamed hysterically, "That's fake. It's doctored." I smirked. Fake? Then what about this? Is this fake too? The big screen shifted. A video began to play. It was less than a month after my father died. Lilan and Zhaochong were at an upscale restaurant, raising their glasses in celebration. Lan, I told you, that kid is an idiot. He'll definitely choose you. He's my son. I know him inside out. Once we get that 200 million, we'll travel the world. Come on, to our beautiful future. Cheers. In the video, the two of them were beaming with joy, their smiles blindingly bright. This video was recovered by Old Wu using some special methods from the restaurant's security footage. The evidence was ironclad. Lilan could no longer deny it. She collapsed to the ground like a pile of mud. "It's not over yet," I said coldly. More evidence appeared on the big screen. Zhao Chong's gambling IOUs, records of them selling off my father's belongings, and even testimonies from the neighbors about how they abused me when I was young. Item by item, the truth was horrifying. The so-called loving mother, the so-called hidden difficulties, in the face of undeniable facts, became nothing but a colossal joke. The entire press conference turned into a public execution of Li Lan and Zhao Chong, openly. And from start to finish, I was merely a calm observer. Finally, the big screen froze on a document, a statement severing mother-son ties. I picked up the microphone. "I hereby formally announce." My voice carried across the entire venue. "From this day forward, I sever all ties with Ms. Li Lan. From now on, in sickness and health, in marriage and death, we are unrelated. Furthermore," I paused. My gaze swept toward Xiao Wanqing in the corner. "As for all individuals and entities who maliciously slandered me and my fiancée Miss Shin Yuchu, my legal team will pursue full legal liability, including the PR firm under the Xiao Group." Xiao Wanqing's body jolted. She looked up and met my icy gaze. All color drained from her face. She knew I was declaring war on her. She also knew she had lost, utterly and completely. The press conference became the top headline on every media outlet that night. Public opinion instantly reversed. Various trending topics bombarded the hot search. Li Lan and Zhao Chong became rats in the street. Everyone shouted to beat them. They not only faced moral condemnation, but also legal punishment, fraud, child abuse, evidence forgery. Enough to rot in prison for life. The Xiao Group was also implicated. Its stock plummeted 30% overnight. On the verge of bankruptcy, Xiao Wanqing was frantic, begging everyone for help, but hitting walls everywhere. No one dared to offend me at this time. She finally tasted abandonment and isolation on all sides. A few days later, an unexpected person called me. It was Xiao Wanqing. Her voice was no longer cold, but filled with exhaustion and hoarseness. "Ningyi, I told you." That was the first thing she said. "I called you, not to beg you to let go. I just wanted to ask you a question." "Say it. If I hadn't called off the engagement back then, would you have?" "No." I interrupted her without hesitation. "Xiao Wanqing, you never entered my world, and you never could, because you never understood me. You only saw what you thought you saw. You only liked what you imagined, and from start to finish, all I ever wanted was to be an ordinary man, who cooks for the one I love." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Finally, only a faint sound came through, as if a heart was breaking. "I understand." She hung up. I knew. This woman, for the rest of her life, would never bother me again. She might rebuild her business empire, in her own way, but in her world, there would always be a missing piece. The puzzle piece called happiness. And I had already found my happiness. I turned off my phone and walked into the kitchen. Shin Yuchu was tying the Winnie the Pooh apron I bought her, humming a tune, clumsy, learning to wrap dumplings, her face covered in flour. When she saw me come in, she flashed me a big smile. "Chef, come help. You're head of the Imperial Kitchen. Today I want to eat 3 fresh filling dumplings." Sunlight streams through the window. It shines on her lovely face, warm and beautiful. I walk over, hug her from behind, on her nose dusted with flour. I give her a kiss. "As you wish, my queen." Wealth is all fleeting clouds. These things, in this moment, all become unimportant. I just want to hold the girl in front of me, cook for her for the rest of my life, see her smile for the rest of my life, reborn into this life. I used 200 million to sever all ties with the past, but never expected to win back the whole world in the end. A world with her in it.